according to per unit. So you will record according to per unit basis. So the first is going to be direct material, then direct labor. The units are going to be, let's see how many units are there, 2000 and 5000. Just for the sake of, I will go per unit, but I'm writing the units only, 2000 and 5000. So let's see, direct material per unit, 300 and 190. Direct labor per unit, 250 and 160. I'll write over here, 300 and 190. Direct labor per unit are going to be 250 and 160. I'll write over here, 250 and 160. Okay. Now, overhead per unit. So overhead per unit is going to be, I'm going to calculate cost per unit. Then I will add markup into this to find the selling price. Though the question has already asked you to prepare to find budgeted unit cost and budgeted unit selling price. So you are going to calculate unit cost and unit selling price. So you can solve the question by going on unit basis rather than total. But even if the question will ask you to prepare the question in total, you will go first per unit. So then you will go in total. Okay. So next, let's see. Calculate the budgeted units cost and the unit selling price. So let's calculate it. Overhead cost per unit, how much is going to become? 20 per hour. So overhead is going to be $50 per hour. Direct labor rate per hour is $50. And 20 per hour is the cost. So we have to see that how many hours are consumed by each sofa. 5 hours. So 5 into 20, because 20 per hour is the rate. So you will get 100 for overhead per unit is 100 for sofa, and 4 into 20, 80 is going to be the overhead cost for tables. Now the question arises into your mind, sir, $50 is not the overhead cost per unit. Wrong. That is direct labor rate per hour. That is the direct labor rate per hour. So what is going to be consumed, that on each hour we used to consume, and overhead absorption rate per hour is going to be $20 per hour as we have calculated. So this is how we are going to find the unit cost, that we are going to multiply the 5 hours, and I will multiply 5 hours with $20. So I will get the overhead cost per unit of 100 for sofa, and table I will get it 80. Now let's calculate, you have to add it up to find the total cost. G, how much it will come per unit? 350, 250 and 100. So it will become 650. So 650 is the total cost per unit for sofa, and for table, I think so. Okay, it is going to be 190 plus 160. 430 is going to be the total cost per unit for table. So let's move toward the question. So budgeted units cost, and you have to find the unit selling price also. In order to find the unit selling price, markup is already given in the question, that is 30% and 20%, right? 30% and 20%. So you will multiply it to calculate the markup. So markup is going to be 650 multiplied by 20%, sorry, 30%. You will get the markup 650 into 30%. How much you will get? So that is going to be 190 5. So markup will be 195. Markup is the gross profit or profit percentage on cost, not on sale. If margin is given in the question, you have to convert markup into margin. But here we don't need that. Now 430 and the markup is 20%. So 430 multiplied by 20%. That is going to be 86. So now I will add total cost and markup. Then you will get the selling price for this. Because if you will add total cost and markup or profit, you will find the selling price. The selling price for sofas and table you have found how much it is going to be. 5, 4, 8, 8, 4, 5 for sofa. I hope so. And for table, it is going to be 430 plus 86 will do. So we can find it easily. How much? That is going to be 516. So we have found the selling price 845 and 516. This is the two in B part we are supposed to find. Now calculate the budgeted total profit for the coming year. So he's also asking for the total profit, right? Selling price we have already got, right? And we can also do that we can, this is the profit per unit. So we can multiply it with the units. So we can find the total profit like that also. Or you can find the total sales and you can subtract total cost to get profit. But I don't need that. I can find total profit very easily, like 195 multiply by 2000 plus 86 multiplied by 5000. And when you will add both of these, you will get the total profit for the D limited, because 195 is the profit per unit and the units sold are 2000 for sofas. And for tables, the profit per unit is 86 and the units sold are 5000. So if you add both of them, 195 into 2000 and 86 into 5000, you will get the total profit, that is 814, 8,14,000. So any problem till here, you can ask me. If there is any confusion, you can ask me now, or you can message me also. This is what we have calculated the selling price and the total profit by using absorption costing. Actually, we have used absorption costing. We haven't used over here ABC costing. We have used solve the question through absorption costing currently. And now we will solve next. Now let's move towards the next part and see how we are going to move forward. The next part says that additional information. A new recruited management accountant advises that D Limited should use activity-based costing to allocate fixed overheads to the two products. The management accountant has provided the following information relating to sofas and tables. Activities, overhead cost drivers are given. Setups, 1 lakh. Number of setups, 600, 400. Machine operation, 3,20,000. Machine hours, 5,000, 3,000. Machine cutting, 1,20,000. Cutting hours are given, 400 for sofas and 200 for table. Inspection, 60,000 is the total cost. Inspection hours are given, 500 and 500. Calculate the budgeted unit cost and the unit selling price for each product using ABC. Okay, let's see. What was the total cost, fixed overhead cost? That is 6 lakh. And what was the total overhead cost right now? That is again 6 lakh. But now we have distributed the cost according to in some cost drivers. That is setups, machine operations, machine cutting, inspection, and the activities consumed by these cost drivers are also given. Number of setups, machine hours, cutting hours, inspection hours. And now the cost is going to be consumed through activities. And that is why it is known as activity-based costing. So we are going to solve the question once again, but by the to activity-based costing. So let's write the first sofas are given over here, and then I will use the tables over here. First will come direct material. As we have written the direct material in our previous part, that will remain the same. Then I will write direct labor. That will also remain the same. And then it is going to be the overheads. And I will go for a heading of overheads. I will write overheads step by step, all overheads, but in steps. If you want to calculate it separately, and then you want to write the per unit of overheads directly over here, you can do that also. But I don't find it easy by going down in the working and then doing it again, coming back over here. I believe that you can do it in the question, in the paper. So setups, machine operation, material cutting and inspection. So let's write it down. Setups, then machine operation, material cutting and inspection. So we'll write over here. Let's do it in the heading, because now overheads are going to be a head, because there are 4 types of overheads in the same 6 lakh of the amount. Amount will remain the same. Now let's calculate it. This is the most important part, which is not that difficult, but students used to understand this point, which is very sometimes students are finding it difficult to understand. 1 lakh is going to be the setup cost. This 1 lakh of the setup costs are going to be divided between sofas and tables according to this ratio or according to number of setups. That is 600 and 400. If you add them up, it will become 1000. Or if you go for the ratio, that will become 3:2. So 3/5 and 2/5, or you may say 600 divided by 1000 or 400 divided by 1000, no matter. So 1 lakh into 600 divided by 1000 is going to be 60,000, and 400 into 1 lakh into 400 divided by 1000 is going to be 40,000. So if I will write over here, just for the purpose of understanding, the setups is going to be 60,000 out of 1 lakh, 60,000 for sofas, and 40,000 is going for tables. But problem is this, that this is the total amount. I want per unit. So you have to convert this overhead of setups into per unit cost. So you need to find setup cost per unit. So 60,000 divided by 2,000, you will find the setup cost per unit, and that is going to be 30. Same is the case with tables. 40,000 divided by 5,000. So what it will come if I will divide 40,000 by 5,000, that is 8. So that's done. Now let's talk about the next part, that is machine operation. 3,20,000, and the ratio between that is distributed according to the machine hours between sofa and table. So 5:3, 5/8 and 3/8. So let's do it. 3,20,000 into 5/8 and then 3,20,000 into 3/8. क्या आता है जी? 3,20,000 into 5/8. G, please.
100, sir.
Sorry, come again.
100.
No, I'm not getting it. Can you please write it down, Ali? Maybe there is a voice distortion. 3,20,000 into 5/8 and then 3,20,000 into 3/8. No, we are not discussing about per unit right now, because this is because sometimes it happens that the question examiner will ask you to find the total also. So you can't do that like this, that you will find the per unit directly because you need per unit. No, you need to go for such kind of steps which will help you in solving the question, whatever is being asked by the examiner. Your pattern should not change. So please, 3,20,000 into 5/8, please. What is the amount? That is 2 lakh. And then this amount is going to be 1,20,000. Then 2 lakh divided by 2,000, it will become 100 per unit. And 1,20,000 divided by 5,000, what will be the answer? 1,20,000 divided by 5,000. Please be quick. I'm wasting. Time is short. Please. G24 is going to be the answer. So I will write over here 24. Next is material cutting. So if we talk about material cutting, 1,20,000 and the ratio is 2:1. 400, 200 means 4:2. 4:2 means 2:1. So 2/3, 1/3, you may do like that also. So 1,20,000 into 2/3, we will get material cutting. That is 80,000. Yes, and that is going to be 40,000. So 80,000 now will be divided by 2,000 to get the material cutting per unit. Overhead cost as per material cutting that we need per unit. So that will become 40. And 40,000 divided by 5,000. That will become again 8. If I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Thank you. Now let's talk about inspection. So inspection, we have 60,000 and the distribution between them is through inspection hours, and that is going to be distributed equally. 500, 500 means equal. So that's quite easy. That will become 30,000. And again, it will become 30,000 and we'll divide 30,000 by 2,000. So how much it will come? 15 for per unit for inspection. And over here, it will become 30,000 divided by 5,000 becomes 6. So sometimes it happens, the examiner is going to ask you to find the total overheads like this. तो फिर हमें इसको भी फाइंड करना पड़ता है कभी कभी. फिलहाल रिक्वायर्ड नहीं था, लेकिन मैंने समझाया है रिक्वायर्ड हो सकता है. So let's find the total cost per unit, and then I will add the markup to find the selling price. If you want to find the overhead cost, total overhead cost per unit, you can find that also. But generally, it is not required in the question. Generally. So 300 plus 250, 550 plus 30 plus 100 plus 40 plus 15, how much it will become? 735. Okay, that's great. So 735 is the answer. And now Ali will go for Najam will go for the tables, at how much we will get the total cost for tables. That is 190 plus 160 plus 8 plus 24 plus 8 plus 6. So I will add profit into this. We can also write markup, but it is basically profit. So I can write profit also, no matter. So how much is the total cost? Markup is 30% for sofas and markup is 20% for tables. So please, if you can calculate it. So that is 396. Okay. Now you can find 396. So 30% of 735 will be 30% of 735. Sir, why? Because the profit rate is going to be the same. And that is 30% markup is for sofa and 20% for table. So 30% of 735 is 220.5. And now I will add it up to find the selling price. And 20% I will add for tables, 396 into 0.2. Yes, if you will do 0.2, that will work for you. So that will become 955.5. And 20% of 396 will be 79.2. And I will add 79.2 into 396. I will get the selling price. So how much it will be? G, please. 396 plus 79.2. If you can tell me little early, because I have to go for the next part. Time is little short. 475.2. Okay, thank you. So 475.2 is the selling price. Let's discuss a little bit about it. So if we use absorption costing, traditional costing method, your selling price is 845, but now we are having a more accurate selling price, which has been increased. So the selling price is going to be 835. Why? Because for sofas, the total cost was 650, but by using ABC costing, the total cost is 735. So we are going for a more cost for sofas. Total cost per unit is more. That's why the selling price is also high, because the markup is the same. But for tables, the cost was 430 in absorption costing, but for ABC it is 396. The cost has been reduced. That's why the selling price is also reduced to 475.2 rather than 516. So this is what we are going to talk about it in our last part, which is of 2 marks. Explain the reason for the change in the budgeted selling price between B and D for each product. Next, the director decided to adopt ABC in the coming year. Due to a higher markup on sofa, the director planned to make a change to the budgeted production volume for each product. What is happening? We are changing the volume of each product. They want to shift the direct labor resources to produce more sofas and produce only 300 tables in the coming year. However, additional 90,000 training cost and 1,10,000 for converting the existing machine would be incurred. So conversion cost of 1,10,000 fixed cost will increase and 90,000 of training cost will increase. So 2 lakh fixed cost has already been increased. And what we are doing, we are basically finding the profit again, and we are going to advise the director that whether or not we should go for the change or not. Justify your answer with reference to the financial factors only. Yani you need to go for the calculation only. So let's see. Now we are going to produce how many units of tables? 3,000, and the remaining hours are going to be utilized for sofas. So if we are producing 3,000 tables, so the table will consume how many hours, beta? 4 hours. Yani each table will take 4 hours. So 12,000 hours are going to be consumed. So out of 30,000 hours, the remaining hours left for sofas are going to be 18,000. Sir, how come? I think you don't remember in the past that we have already calculated that we have 30,000 of direct labor hours, 2,000 into 5, 10,000, 5,000 into 4, 20,000, 30,000 direct labor hours are available. 3,000 tables, if we are going to produce, then 12,000 labor hours will be utilized by producing tables, and 18,000 hours will be available for sofas. And for sofa, how many hours it takes to produce a 1 unit? That is 5 hours. So if you divide it by 5, 18,000 hours are the remaining hours. And if you will divide it by 5, you will get that much of units you can produce for sofas. You can't produce more units for sofas. That is 3,600. So now you have to solve the question. 3,000 units will be produced for tables and 3,600 units will be produced for sofas, right? And you have to calculate the profit again. You have to compare the profits actually. So if you talk about the profit we didn't yet calculated. The profit per unit is 220.5 and 79.5 for that. And the profit per unit again will remain the same. But now we have to calculate according to the consumption which is there. And that is going to be 3,000 units into 220.5. Oh, sorry. 3,600 units into 220.5 plus tables. How many tables are going to produce? 3,000, and the profit per unit is 79.2. And we have some additional cost is going to be incurred, less fixed cost, which is the additional one, training and conversion cost, 2 lakh. So we'll get the profit. And then we are going to compare total with the total profit of the previous. And previous total profit, how we are going to calculate? 2,000 into 220.5 plus 5,000 into 79.2. So you will calculate the total profit, whatever was available by producing 2,000 sofas and 5,000 tables, and then compare it with the profit of 3,600 sofas and 3,000 tables. But you have to calculate the profit first. By subtracting the fixed cost, then you will get profit. ये आप कैलकुलेट कर लीजिएगा आप खुद ही, या मुझे बता दें किसी ने अगर निकाल लिया तो 3600 into 22.5 plus 3000 into 79.2, how much it will come, and we'll subtract 2 lakh and then we'll compare. So your profit will reduce by 5,000. So we will not go for that option. We will continue to produce the same whatever we are doing, like 2,000 sofas and 5,000 tables.